Everybody, please welcome my dear brother and one of the greatest yoga teachers in the world, for sure. And my favorite, after meeting all of them, Dr. Ananda Balaji Bhavanani.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Larry. It's always such a pleasure to be with you, both in person and nowadays more online.
Yeah.
But the pandemic taught us that we don't have to be in the same room to be together. We can be on the same screen and still be together. And before the pandemic, I was dead against online teaching of yoga. In fact, if someone had said, will you offer an online yoga course? I would have said, no, never. But now I'm the opposite end of the spectrum. And I think 80 to 90% of my teaching is now online. And we have been able to create a beautiful Sangha, a very beautiful community online, where our sessions are truly transformational and transcendental. These are the two T's of yoga as far as I'm concerned. If yoga is not manifesting transformation and transcendence in your life, it is good to question whether it is yoga in the first place. And this is where yoga as something that happens very strongly between our ears in the hardware called the brain that works with the software called the mind is more important than touching our toes, bending our knees, or twisting our torsos. Many years ago, I had a great opportunity to be in California, thanks to Antonio's conference, and sit together with Larry and chat away the whole night while others were partying, and started a relationship, a companionship, a kinship with kindred spirits across the seas. For me, growing up with yoga as my life, I don't have a life separate from yoga. Yoga is my life. And so yoga is every moment of my life, every breath of my life. Thanks to these two great people who are behind me, my father and my mother, who conceived me in yoga. And I just celebrated my 53rd physical birthday 2 days ago on the 16th. And when people ask me, how long have you been in yoga? I say, add 9 months to my physical age. Because I believe I was conceived in yoga. And so I don't have a life before yoga or after yoga as many can compare and talk about. So I have to talk about lifetimes before yoga and lifetimes after yoga, not the life before or the years before. Larry has given me a beautiful challenge today to talk about neurodegenerative conditions and how yoga can play a role. For sure, yoga has a role in everyone's life because as one of my dear mentors and a teacher of my dear Larry, TKV Deshikachar, used to say, if you can breathe, you can do yoga. This was decades before accessible yoga became a hot thing. If you can breathe, you can do yoga. And in the hospital where I work, where for the past 15 years, Laura has been there and seen in person the fabulous setup we have in a modern medical hospital where yoga as a therapy, music as a therapy are welcomed with access to each and every nook and corner of the hospital. We can go any place we want, at any time we want, and do anything we want. Now, that type of freedom for music and yoga therapy does not exist, to the best of my knowledge, any other place in the world. Where we are not treated as outsiders, we are not the foreign agent who has to be, packed up and sent to the furthest corner of the hospital or locked in the basement. We can go into operation theaters. We can go into intensive care units. We go into the labor ward, in the labor room. We teach breathing. We teach, vocalization through music and sound during deliveries. We help the mothers and the fathers who are anxious during immunization of their children to be less anxious through the music, through the deep breathing. And one of our primary focus areas, well, there are two. One has been in the population that is aging on the other side of the 50s. And we have many, many participants, care seekers. In India, we call them patients, not clients, because for us in India, client is still a legal word. Patient is the person who comes to the hospital and is being given a certain treatment, is the language. But I prefer the term participant rather than patient, which is a label. And care seeker is another good one because they are seeking care and we are there to provide care. So the core relationship of the therapeutic relationship of yoga therapy is one that is filled with care and so should be careful, full of care, careful, full of care.
Beautiful.
Not careless where there is less care. And when we started our work, we took the blessings of our elders, which is an Indian tradition, where the people who are older than you are venerated, respected for the wisdom and experience they have that cannot be attained by any academic degree. No Ph.D. and postdoc can give you the experience of 75 revolutions around the sun, especially if you are just 35. When you are 35, you will only have the experience of 35. And so we respect the experience that people older than us have. We respect their perspectives that are filled with wisdom, often the wisdom that is the outgrowth of struggles that they have been through. Recently, I have been reading up on post-traumatic growth. We all know about post-traumatic stress disorder. Post-traumatic growth is what positive psychology and humanistic psychology are talking about. And how the suffering and the distress that people go through in their life enables wisdom to manifest in them. So in our culture here in the East, when we start out new projects, we take the blessings of people older than us. So when we started our work in the hospital, the first group of people we invited to be part of yoga therapy were, in India, they are still called senior citizens, And they have an association called the Senior Citizen Association. And because many of them have whiter hair, which now I also have a lot, we created what was called a silver yoga program. And I like yoga for the golden years better than silver yoga. But because Larry already has that, I'm not going to steal it from him. I may borrow it from him in the future.
Anytime, anytime.
So we created a silver yoga program where we started working with people who had retired from active life. And next to our hospital, we have a beautiful campus where many, I think there must be about 150, if not 200 people living there who have retired from active life and settled into this community. And because there was a tie-up with our hospital, we started working with them, inviting them to come once a week to our hospital setup. And we started working with a yoga therapy program for the different health conditions that they were struggling with. We also started at the same time working with children with special needs, which is one of our priority areas. And in fact, one of the best practices of our whole university is the work we do with children with special needs and the caregivers. And in fact, 5 of our Ph.D. work is being done in the children with special needs and caregivers of children with special needs. That is the importance we give to these two populations. And it is called Divyanga Yoga. Divyanga is a term that our Prime Minister of India suggested to be used, which means divinely abled. That the children with special needs are not disabled as the earlier term used to give a stigma. He said they are divinely able. They are Divya Anga. Divya means the divine light is shining through them. So we created a silver yoga protocol, a Divyanga protocol. And as we started to work with this population, we came across a lot of neurodegenerative diseases or disorders. Or another term which is less stigmatizing is conditions. Neurodegenerative conditions is less stigmatizing than disorder and disease. We have to remember that in yoga therapy, yoga chikitsa is the optimal term from our culture. Chikitsa means the application as a therapy for that individual. So at the core of yoga therapy is the individual who is seeking your care, not the diagnosis. And this is where in our Indian Yoga Association, as the head of the committee for yoga therapy, I am spearheading a movement that focuses on the individual, not the diagnosis. And this is in line with my medical training, where the father of modern medicine, that's what they call him, William Osler. William Osler made a beautiful statement. He said, a good physician treats the disease. A good physician treats the disease. A great physician treats the person who has the disease. Modern medicine has forgotten its own father. We have become reductionistic, looking at labels and diagnoses and lab results, and have forgotten to look at the individual who is sitting in front of us, seeking our care. I want to make sure yoga therapy does not go down that pathway. It has to be person-centric. Now, that person who comes to us may have a certain degeneration of the nervous system. That is what neurodegenerative disorders, diseases, and conditions implies. There is a degeneration. Now, what is degeneration? Degeneration is part of the normal cycle of life. Initially, the initial part of our life is a phase of anabolic growth. We grow physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially, socially, all the Ali that you can add to all these terms. We grow. And then, of course, you come to one point, we stop growing vertically and we start to grow horizontally. Another two leaves to add to that. But after a certain point, especially after our 20s and 30s, we sort of plateau. The growth curve plateaus. So the anabolic growth curve plateaus. And then depending on how well we take care of ourselves at that point of life, we can prevent, minimize, attenuate, and hopefully retard the degeneration that is the natural progression of human life cycle. Because once you have gone through the anabolic growth and plateau phase, the next one is the catabolic degenerative phase, leading to ultimately death. Birth, generation, anabolic growth, plateau, degeneration, death. That is basically the cycle. So first of all, we need to realize neurodegenerative conditions are not necessarily a pathology. They are not necessarily a disease and a diagnosis. They may be a natural outcome of living longer. Because with better medical facilities, with better, opportunities for health promotive behaviors, if we choose them, we are living longer. And the longer you live, the more time for degeneration is going to be there. Which is why we need to actually catch people before degeneration starts if we are to help them the most. Prevention is always better than cure, which is why that period of life between the mid-20s and the mid-50s is actually where we make the choices that then impact what happens in our late 50s and the period after that. What do we eat, or what do we choose to eat? What do we choose to do with our body? What do we choose to do with the free time we have? What do we choose to do with the thinking cognitive process that we have been blessed? These are all choices, because health is a choice. Disease is not a choice necessarily. Health is always, and that is why health promotive behavior will always be a choice-based behavior where you have to take responsibility to make the right choices as appropriate for your physical, mental, emotional, social, and spiritual needs. That is where yoga comes in, because yoga strengthens the power of choice. You say, Dr. Ananda, how does it do that? Well, in yoga, you choose how you are going to position your body. You choose how long you're going to position your body in different postures to cultivate, to culture certain psychophysical effects on the body. You choose how you're going to breathe. Most of us are governed by the survival tendency of the brain stem, the back of the brain, that instructs you how to breathe without you knowing it automatically. But then in pranayama, the yogic methodology of breath awareness and breath focus, we start to decide, I am going to breathe in for 6 counts and breathe out for 6 counts. I am going to choose to hold my breath. I am going to choose to breathe in only my right nostril, or I may choose to breathe in only my left nostril. It was the left nostril breathing that I believe Larry and I had a discussion about as a beautiful methodology of self-regulation of stress. And stress potentiates degeneration. The more stressed you are, the more the cortisol that is pumped into your system, the more the degeneration is going to be there, and the less your immune system can clean up the debris. Your immune system is a very good scavenging system. It cleans up all the waste products. But then if your immune system is dampened by the high cortisol levels in your blood, because of the chronic stress, your immune system will not clean up the debris. The debris will accumulate. The more the debris accumulates, the more the degeneration is going to be there. You have a beautiful repair mechanism going on in the body. God is great. The universe is wise. Call it God, call it divine, call it nature, call it universe, call it intelligent design, call it whatever you want. I was teaching my students the other night that the energy matrix of God and dog are the same. God and Dog work out the same energetically in yantra. And both are very trustworthy. And both are very loyal. And both are very loving. Both are very welcoming. And both are there in your time of need. So Dog and God are not too different from that angle. Now, I'm not going to go into the debate whether dogs get into heaven or not. I don't want to be in a heaven that doesn't allow dogs in it. That's my personal preference. Because how could it be heaven if dogs are not there? I love my dogs. In our ashram, we are an ashram that has dogs, and they join all our yoga classes. They do the doga, doga, dog yoga. I think we got people started on that aberration of yoga. But anyway, coming back, stress will aggravate degeneration. So if you want to prevent degeneration, you don't have degeneration, well, thank your genetics, thank the universe, thank the choices you made as a young person. But then, in order to prevent it from happening, start to work on reducing the stress. You already have mild degeneration. Your genetics are not so good. Well, stop the degeneration in its tracks by reducing stress. You already have manifest disease, disorder because of the degeneration. Prevent it from worsening by reducing stress. So in all aspects, before the problem, when the problem is a small molehill, and even when the problem is a mountain, stress reduction is the key to enhancing your healing process. Because degeneration has to be combated by regeneration. Degeneration is to be replaced by regeneration. And for that to happen, you have to move from distress to what is called eustress. From the bad stress to the good stress. Good stress enables you to grow. Bad stress kills you. Now, you say, but isn't all stress bad? No. Because the stress can both make you flourish and thrive, or it can send you into degeneration, despair, depression, and disability and death. This is called salatogenesis. Salatogenesis is a term which is the name of my institute, Institute of Salatogenesis and Complementary Medicine.
Can
in
you
our
spell it?
hospital.
Can you spell it for us, sir?
Yeah, I will put it there. And it is a key term, salatogenesis. Salus means health and wellness. Genesis, what are the factors that can enable it to manifest? So what are the things we can do to enable health and wellness to manifest rather than pathogenesis, which is focusing on the disease alone? So pathogenesis, which is focusing on pathology. Patho means suffering. So the opposite end of the spectrum is pathogenesis. And the founder of the term salatogenesis, Aaron Antonovsky, he was a social scientist who was studying people who had gone through the Holocaust. And he wanted to know why some people who had gone through the Holocaust were still being healthy, whereas others were not being healthy because of the result of the same trauma. Post-traumatic stress disorder, post-traumatic growth. What is it that facilitated that was his question. And he said, it is your perspective, your perception of stress. How you perceive the stress and the stressor changes whether the stressor will make you become healthier or the stressor will make you less healthier. The same stressor. So stress induces cortisol that makes degeneration happen. But if you can learn to work with that stress in a positive way, you approach the stress. My book on yoga and stress doesn't talk about stress as being avoided. It talks about yogic approach to stress. How do you approach stress to make it your friend, to make it your gym buddy, how to make it your life coach, so that you move from pathogenesis to salatogenesis, from degeneration to regeneration. Now, in neurodegenerative conditions, scientists will tell you, once you lose a nerve, a neuron, it cannot be grown back again. Well, that was true many decades ago. Now we realize there is something called neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity. Now, this is an important term when you talk about neurodegeneration and yoga therapy. Because certain neurons may be degenerating, certain neurons may be lost. But you know what? The God, the divine, the nature, the universe, the intelligent design has given us such an abundance of neurons. You can lose 60–70% of your neurons and still function optimally. Isn't that amazing? Such a reservoir was given to us by the universe. It's like the water on the earth is amazing. But the problem is, how do you use it? And my father used to say, yoga is the science of right useness, using things as they are meant to be used, using your body as it is meant to be used, using your emotions, your mind, your resources. Today, what have we done with our resources on this planet? Misused, abused, disused them, and now we complain. We have become a race of complainers. We have to move from the abuse, misuse, disuse mentality to a right useness, which is righteousness. Righteousness is right useness, using every resource as it is meant to be used. And that is where, when we use the yoga practices appropriately, when people have a degenerative disorder, they may have movement issues. For example, in Parkinson's, there may be a difficulty in starting the movement and stopping the movement. My physiology professor, and I've had great teachers in my life, every one of them a gem. And I remember his class on Parkinson's, where he walked into the room, continued walking out the room through the other door. I can never forget that. He said, this is the problem. Once the movement started, the person cannot stop. They have come to the room. They cannot stop there. They walk out of the room. They walk into the room and walk out of the room. He used to talk about how the rigidity would be there. Clasp knife, they call it. That, you cannot, and then suddenly it moves. The tremors, which are an imbalance between the afferent and efferents of your nervous system. In yoga, Patanjali, the codifier of the yoga system, tells us, through asana, you transcend the dualities. Those dualities, which are the motor afferents and the sensory efferents. When I want to move my arm, if I want to flex my arm, my biceps have to work. If I want to extend my arm, my triceps have to work. Now, my nervous system makes sure, through a system called reciprocal innervation, that when the signal goes to my bicep to contract, my triceps relax. And when my triceps contract, my biceps relax. The agonist and the antagonist muscles are supplied in a reciprocal manner, so that there will be smoothness of the movement. But what happens in Parkinson's and other such degenerative conditions, this innervation is lost. And so the bicep wants to move, the tricep wants to move, and the fight between the bicep and the tricep ends up with a tremor. The tremor, which is called Angame Jayatva in yoga, is the result of an instability between the opposing forces. And what does Patanjali say? Through the practice of asana, you overcome these opposing forces. You find that smoothness, which gives you stability and ease. Now, this doesn't mean you have to do the most complicated asanas that we do in our Yogasana sport in India, where we have Asian championships and the kids, you don't know which part of the body is touching which other part, because you cannot even find out whether they are bending front or back. It is so amazing what they can do. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. All you have to do is bring both your palms together in what is called the namaskar, or some people call it the anjali. The namaskar, the greetings. When you do this, you know what you have done? Your right hand is the left vein. Left hand is the right vein. You have brought your right and left veins together. They are working. Synchronicity has manifested. Synchronous firing of neurons on your right and left hemispheres by just bringing your two palms together. Then you can clasp the fingers together. Again, neurons are firing in a synchronous manner on the right and left motor hemispheres. Your sensory part of your brain is feeling the sensation of your right fingers on the left and the left fingers on the right. Just by doing this, we call it yoga mudra. You just clasp your hands together like that. That's all. You just clasp it together. You want to confuse your brain and make it work a bit more? Turn it out this way. And your brain is like, what's happening? Turn it back in. Turn it out. Turn it back in. You want to confuse it a bit more? Cross your hands and clasp your fingers. And now just bring it back in like this. Now your brain is totally confused. Because it is confused, you have woken up your brain. Can you hear all the popping of the popcorn in your neurons? Pop, 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 pop. Because you have done something you don't do normally. This is where the yoga therapy requires a lot of clarity. We need to have clarity as a therapist. We need to know that what is it that individual can do. Don't think about what you know. Huh? Just because I can do my handstands and my headstands, I don't have to do that for my care seeker. That person standing on both the feet with the feet together, arms by the side, keeping the body aligned in one line, may be more effective for that individual than me teaching them to stand on the head, which is not needed at all. One of my dear friends who I consider a younger sister in the USA is Indu Arora. She does a lot of work with yoga and Ayurveda. And she made a beautiful comment recently when we were talking. She said, Anna, she calls me her elder brother. Anna is elder brother in Tamil. She said, people think yoga is a workout. She said, Anna, yoga is not a workout, it is a work in. I love that. I love that perspective. It is what is happening inside. It is not about your Instagram asana, which is a mutation of yoga today. And I am also guilty of that, okay? Because people thought I only talk about yoga. As one of my friends, another wonderful teacher, was asked by someone, they said, do you just talk philosophy or do you do some yoga also? So he said, yes, this philosophy guy. And so recently I've started letting people know I do my asana practice also. And my mother gave me a 9 out of 10 for my birthday. I gave her a series of my postures. I had a photographer come to the ashram, take a set of photos and showed it to her. And she said, well, I'll give you a 9 out of 10. Scope for improvement. Right? She is a tough teacher. My mother is a tough teacher. High standards. But you don't have to do those difficult postures. As I said, bringing your hands together. Another very interesting thing is to catch your opposite earlobe. The earlobe is a very sensitive part of our body. It is linked to a lot of neuronal connections. And catch the opposite earlobe with the opposite hand. This is a very beautiful practice. It's called Thopu Karanam in this part of the world. And it used to be used as a punishment for students who are not doing good. Today we call it super brain yoga. Because suddenly you have crisscrossed your nervous system. Any practice where your right hand or foot is touching the left hand or foot, sitting, standing, lying down, in a chair, on your bed, on your sofa, the moment right side and left side are crisscrossing, you are creating an amazing cross connection across the neurons and parts of your brain that are dormant. The dormant parts of your brain, and remember, a huge amount of our brain capacity is not used in this whole lifetime. My father used to have an interesting story about Albert Einstein. Now, in recent times, that has not, they have tried to debunk it, but it is still a good story. So I'll tell you the story. That when Albert Einstein passed away, they decided to study his brain. And I believe they still have his brain in some museums there in North America. It's a pity that brains are found in museums these days, not in living beings. Sorry about that, but anyway. Einstein's brain was studied, and at that time they used to say they found Albert Einstein had only used 8% of his brain. That was a number that used to go around in those days. Nowadays, neuroscientists don't like that because then, they're out of a job. If they say you only use 8% of your brain, so, they want to make it sound you use it all. I still tell you, our brain capacity, trillions of interconnections between billions of neurons, okay? Billions of neurons, trillions of interconnections. We are not using most of that because we are a creature of habit. We will think the same way, speak the same way, do the same thing, go on that same route to work and back for 30 years. And so we don't use all those alternative pathways that are potentially dormant. That's why there's a huge amount that is potentially dormant. So my father used to say, if Albert Einstein, the genius of the age, was only using 8% of his brain, how much do you think you people are using? And people would start counting on the fingers. And he'd say, I'll save you the trouble. I'll give you the answer. None. That used to be his punchline on that. Albert Einstein used 8%. How much are you using? None. Well, the more, the older I get, the more I understand what he was saying. Because you see that people are such creatures of habit. We are survival mode most of the time, flourishing, thriving, growth mode, sharing mode is on minimal value for most of the time in our life. The more you share, the more you care, the more you try out alternate pathways, do things differently, do the same thing differently, and do different things in the same way. The more you do that, the more you challenge the different parts of you, the more those parts are going to be used. And that is why it is very important in the yoga practices, be it Parkinson's, be it Alzheimer's, be it dementia, be it MS, multiple sclerosis. All of these are degenerative conditions, yes. And we will find that as those conditions progress, we will start to lose some of our mental faculties. We will start to lose some of our physical capabilities. But we humans have the capacity to adapt. And that is why it is not survival of the fittest, but it is survival of the ones who can adapt the best. And this is where learning to adapt to the changes. When you find a certain part of you is not functioning as well as it used to, start to use another part of you to do that. Don't just focus on the loss, focus on what you have. And that is why strengthening those capacities and faculties that are existent is one of the key ways to deal with neurodegenerative conditions at whatever stage they may be. If somebody is in bedridden stage, they are not able to walk, they are not able to move. If they can still breathe, please work with the breath. If they can still make sounds, use the sound. Sounds like ah, opening the mouth and ah, closing the mouth and puckering it, as if you are going to kiss somebody. Ooh.
Ooh.
Ah. Ooh. Sounds like E. Opening the mouth and a beautiful sound. E. E is the sound of the higher glands in the body, the pineal gland, the pituitary gland. All of these are activated when you make the sound like E. E. And if you want to potentiate it, you can add a small at the end. Eem, eem, eem. And let that sound vibrate in your skull. The sound of when your lips come together is another beautiful sound. Mm, mm, mm. And when you make that sound, if you were to close your ears, now you could close it with your thumbs, you could close it with your index fingers. We have a practice where we close it with the thumbs and then we do a mudra called Shanmukhi mudra, which then also works on all the nerves in the, facial region, the trigeminal nerve, the facial nerve and all. And when you close your ears and you make that sound, a nice humming sound, what happens is the whole brain, all those neurons, billions of neurons, trillions of interneuronal connections, they will get a nice wake-up call. Like you are in bed and, from the desk, the lobby, they give you a wake-up call in the morning because you have to catch your flight, early flight. Well, you get a wake-up call when you do this. Those neurons that are sleeping, all those sleeping neurons are woken up. And so those neurons which can still work are potentiated to work better. Those that are not able to work may be potentiated to heal a bit. Those who have been lost, they can rest in peace. Fine. You work with what you have. Instead of saying, I've lost it, I've lost it, I've lost it, and then you keep losing more. If you focus on loss, you will lose more. If you focus on what you still have, you will gain more. This is the change in the mindset from survival to flourishing mode. From the what we call the me, which is this brainstem that is so mean because we only think of ourselves. The me. We want to shift to the front of the brain, this prefrontal cortex, which can think of other people. The in the other person. The is also the higher intellect, buddhi. Me. You go to the. We make a dance out of this. We reduce our stress at the abdominal area. Ha. We reduce the stress in the chest region. Ho. Chest in the upper neck region. He. Work on that survival instinct. Me. Move to the flourishing, sharing, caring. The. And then throw it all out. Go. And you throw it all out, all the junk. Clear the debris. So that some healing can occur. New energy can flow. And this is a beautiful practice. My mother used to work with us and it has become popular around the world. It is called Nada Bhavana Shuddhi Kriya. And if you Google this, you will see my videos where I'm explaining it in detail. And every conference I go to, I lead people through it. And after that, there's no looking back. It's an amazing practice. We use the sound. The abdominal area is the stress that comes with performance anxiety. Will I perform? Will I be up to the mark? Ha. Laugh it away. The second is the chest. Relationship anxiety. Will they like me? Won't they like me? What if they don't like me? All that. She likes me not, taking the petals off. Instead of that, be Santa Claus, be the giver. Ho. Be a giver. Whether people give or not, don't worry about it. You be the giver. You be like Santa Claus, giving abundance to everyone. People are always focused in relationship on getting. What can I get? What can I get? Can I get more? Get. And they forget. Because they are only focused on getting. Forgive and give. When you give from the heart, your heart opens. When your heart opens, you have space within. And then up here, the very dangerous one is, we always are thinking about how great we are, our ego. All these people who run around as if, the world would cease if they don't exist. The world will be much better when most of us don't exist. In fact, if the human beings are wiped off, this planet will heal better. And I'm sorry to say that, but that's the hard fact and truth. We think we are the big cheese. We are not the big cheese. So we always look, he offended me, she offended me. Offense is always taken. Offense is never given. I take offense. Why? Because of my big, fat, bloated, dull ego. And so what do we do up here? He. So, Ha, 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 ha. Get rid of performance anxiety. Ho, 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 ho. Get rid of relationship anxiety. He. All this ego, status, position-based anxiety. Focus on the survival mechanism. Address it. Hey, I'm looking at you, brainstem. I know what you are doing. You little thing who's trying to, ruin my life by, all your, back room dealings, back room dealings. Me. Shift from the back of the brain to the front of the brain. Sharing is caring. Choice is the superpower of being human. The power of choice is the superpower of being human. Utilize it. DHI, which is also like the THEE, the other person. And then let it all go. Go. And suddenly you are so much lighter. You lose a couple of pounds in emotional weight. Huh? Your emotional baggage has just got cleared. You have done a defragmenting of your hard drive called the brain. Remember, the brain is the hardware, the mind is the software. You have defragmented it. Yes, Sheila, I see a question there.
Yes. When you're making the sounds, you're often putting your hands like where we're focusing. Is that part of?
It is part of it. Because where the hands go, it is easier to focus the mind. And where the mind goes, the energy will flow. So the hands, the sparsha, which are the touching gestures, you are using your hands on the abdomen and, make it jovial, make it fun. Because when learning is fun, you learn the best. When learning is serious, you never learn anything. I don't remember a single thing taught in my medical school training that was taught seriously. But every joke my professors made, I remember 30 years from then. Huh? Every joke they made, every humorous cross connection that was made, everything that was exciting, innovative, intuitive, I remember forever. And that is why all learning has to be fun. So the ha, ho, ho, he, me, the, and then throw it away. Gesture the throwing away, letting, instead of holding on to the junk, holding on to stress, we hold on to things. We latch on to it. That is the biggest problem, is latching on to stuff. We claim ownership over our problem. My problem. No, it is the problem. Throw it out. My disease. No, it is the disease. Kick it out. The rather than me. My health condition. No, the health condition that you want to deal with. Disassociate. Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita tells us, yoga is the disengagement with our tendency to suffer. He says we have a tendency to latch on to suffering and say, my suffering, my problem, my issue. He says, no, detach from that and just look at it objectively. He says, dukkha samyoga viyogam, the dukkha, that suffering, that pain, we go and we attach to it. Samyoga, we latch on to it. He says, viyogam, one of the places where yoga is defined as detachment or disengagement or disunion is that. Because we tend to have that my problem. So what do? Go is throw it out. Go. And if you want, you can add a bit of breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. And suddenly you feel lighter. I guarantee you will feel lighter. You will definitely be smiling more. Whenever I go into conference rooms, especially medical conferences with these damn serious, dead serious people. Huh? Dead serious means you're dead. Remember that. They're so dead serious. I go in, I start off with one of these and suddenly the room has the laughs, has the claps, has everybody looking and smiling at each other. Some find it funny, some find it ridiculous, but suddenly you have broken through that ice. You have suddenly broken through that dead, serious facade that was preventing learning from occurring. And that is why when you are teaching people, when you are giving them the yoga, yoga is not meant to be serious. Yoga is meant to be fun. Yoga is meant to be jovial. See, as I said, serious is dead serious. Joyful living. That is where joy comes in. That is where you suddenly realize, even if distress is there, even if distress is there, you can still be growing in that process. The suffering can still be there. It doesn't mean you're not suffering, but that suffering can be a springboard for your growth. That is why I started off by talking of post-traumatic growth, which today's psychology has understood. Transformation, transcendence. You transcend the suffering. See, when I'm talking about these things, this is not a theoretical lecture at all. This is coming from my lived experience. My mother, who has been my teacher, she's not just my mother, she's my teacher. And for me now, she is a manifestation, embodied manifestation of the divine. She suffered a stroke 5 years ago at the beginning of the COVID pandemic. Refused to get hospitalized. I had got the ambulance to the doorstep and she said, I will not go to the hospital. My dignity is more important. I want to preserve my dignity. That was the word she said. As a doctor, I hated it. But as a son, I struggled with it. But as a student, I understood what she meant. So she had a massive stroke, has been bedridden for the last 5 years, and lost the functioning on the whole right side of the body. For the first few months, lost the capacity to speak because the speech areas on the left brain. And we started off with speech therapy. We had physical therapy. But you know, the most important therapy has been she and I sitting and singing every day together. And that has been a journey of transformation for me over the 5 years. I decided not to travel out. I said, if anybody wants me to teach, it will be online. Now, in the last 6 months, I've started traveling a bit with her permission, but still not confident enough to travel abroad because I know that human life is very fragile in such situations. And I want to make sure I'm here with her when she decides to leave the body because she has that capacity. But what I want to share is now we sing together. She loves the singing, the chanting. We have beautiful conversations. She goes down to the beach in her wheelchair 3 times a week and has a massive fun time at the beach. And today I went down to the beach and enjoyed it. And you know what? Not once in the 5 years has she ever said she is in pain. Not once in the last 5 years has she said she is suffering. I ask her, I say, is there pain? No. Are you happy? Yes. Have you had a good day today? It's been a great day. Now imagine lying in bed, looking at the ceiling and saying your day has been great. That is the impact of her whole life of yoga practice. She came from South Dakota in 1968, left the US of A. She was on a sabbatical, came to India and never wanted to go back again. Went back a few times to meet her mother, my grandmother, who lived to be 100, just left the body a few years ago. But that yoga practice, the life of yoga has enabled her to come into a state of transcendence today. I witness every day when I see her. I get up in the morning, go and say hello to her. Before I go to work, I go and give her her morning chocolate and we have a nice, talk. Come back at lunch, check out on how her lunch has been. before I go to class, let her know what class I'm teaching so that she knows and she blesses me to do a good job. At night, go back and have a nice sing song for her, depending on the time, an hour, 2 hours. The other night, it was 3 hours. And then at night, go and give her a kiss and get kissed. Good night. We do that every day. And I am witnessing a human being who has transcended suffering, a human being who has transcended pain. And in yoga, we talk about the state of samadhi. I am witnessing that in person through her. Now, why does that happen? Yes, she is not able to move her right hand. Yes, she is not able to get up and walk around. Yes, but is she suffering? No. See, this is where, and whenever we have students here in residence, we sit around in the evening around her bed, and I give my sessions sitting around the bed while she's listening and laughing at my jokes or commenting when I say something. And I always make sure I get her approval at the end of the session to know whether I am on track or not. We have these conversations. See, this is important because to be, as one of my friends used to say, your presence should be healing. Your presence should be healing, not just the therapy you give. You should embody yoga therapy as a person. And that is why in modern research of yoga, though I do a lot, and yes, you go on the internet and you'll find 400 plus papers published by me. A friend of mine, a colleague came in the other day and he brought a few of his students from anesthesia. He is in charge of publication in our university. And he said, this guy standing in front of you looks so simple. He said, but go and Google him and you'll find all these publications. And he said, in case you end up clicking on one of them, you will be drowned in the torrential rain of all his publications because there's so much out there. But despite all of my research, despite all of that hardcore scientific evidence that we have been generating for the impact of yoga in so many health conditions, I still feel we are missing an important element. And that is, we have not understood the impact of the therapist as a healing modality. We are looking at only the postures. We are only looking at the breathing techniques. We are only looking at the contemplative, concentrative techniques that we are imparting. We are only looking at the lifestyle modifications that we are suggesting to be adapted by the individual. We have forgotten the impact the therapist makes in the therapeutic relationship on the healing process. Because your presence should be a presence that brings about a state of ease in the other person. Your presence should be comforting. Your very presence should educe the relaxation response in the other person. Because when the relaxation response is educed, it facilitates another response called the healing response. Stress retards healing. Relaxation facilitates healing. So I've been talking of moving from pathogenesis to salatogenesis, from illness to wellness, from focus on loss to focus on abundance. I would also like to focus from moving from stress to relaxation, because stress will always retard the healing. So what do? You enable the person to relax by your words, by your presence, by the practices you share with them, by the words you comfort them. Especially when people are in advanced stages of neurodegenerative conditions. You may not be able to do much physically. And even from a technique point of view, you may not be able to do much. We had for a couple of years, the palliative ward in our hospital was next to the yoga therapy unit. And my yoga therapy students and our faculty would go into the palliative ward and spend time with the patients admitted who were expected to leave the body in a week, in a month or so. And often when they came back, I used to say, what did you do today? And they said, I went to palliation. I said, okay, in palliative ward with that person you were dealing with, what did you do? They said, well, I tried to do some movements. It was not possible. Okay. I tried to have them make sound. It was also not so feasible. I tried to have them breathe. I could do a little bit. But then I sat with them holding their hand. I said, now you are a yoga therapist. That you could sit there and hold the hand, gave them the healing that was needed. You did not cure them. You did not prevent them from dying, but you helped them leave the body in a much better state of mind. The transition would have been a much better transition because of your presence there. And so often, after the person had left the body, the relatives would come and talk to me and say, thank you, sir. Your therapists coming to my grandfather, my father, my grandmother, my mother, my uncle, my aunt meant so much to us because we know that our father, mother, grandmother, aunt left the body in a better state of mind thanks to your presence there. Never, never underestimate the impact of your presence as a healing modality. Our presence itself should be healing. You should become the therapy. I remember a friend of mine at Annamalai University many years ago used to say, Dr. Ananda is the therapy man. He said he is the therapy man. Huh? He doesn't have to give you therapy. He is the therapy. And it is good. Now the problem is, how do you make more Dr. Anandas? How do you clone? How do you clone Dr. Ananda? Well, that is what I do with my students. I say, I'm not going to teach you what to do. I will be what I am. And if you are with me, you learn what to be. If you learn what to be, you will be that therapy. So we can talk about techniques. Yes, you would like to retain as much movement as possible. You would like to make the movements as smooth as possible by coordinating the body movement with the breath. Even if it is just moving your finger, as you move the finger, breathe in. As you move it out, you breathe out. If you are closing your fist, breathe in and breathe out. If you're moving your hand, breathe in, breathe out. If you're lifting the hands, breathe in, breathe out. If you're doing it with the feet, the same thing. The moment you bring the body movement and the breath together and you perform it mindfully, you have created an amazing yoking. That is yoga. To yoke together is yoga. You are yoking the body, the mind, and the spirit into one. And in that state of oneness, healing will manifest. So it is not, should I move the feet first or the fingers first? That depends on the individual you are dealing with. Can they move the feet? Good. Can they move the hands? Good. Can they move both of them? Good. Can the hands and feet be brought together? Good. They cannot be brought together? Okay. What is the next thing that you can do? So keep on looking at what the person can do, the functionality. And another very important message, which is becoming part of my key messages, and in fact, I'm starting to prepare for my keynote for the C-IAYT conference coming up in June. And one of the messages I noted down today on my computer as that I have to include in the PPT, I said is yoga therapy is not about the form. It is not about the form, but about the functionality. This is very important difference here between normal yoga teaching and yoga as a therapy. It is not the form. You don't want somebody to get into a picture perfect yoga posture. That is for those young kids, slim models to do. Let them earn some money and model for photos for books. Let them do that. No problem about that. What is important here? Functionality. So when you do a yoga technique, when you do a yoga practice, what is the functionality of that practice? Are you trying to bring the hands and the feet together? Are you trying to bring the knees to the abdomen or the abdomen to the knees? Are you trying to bring the head to the knee, or are you trying to bring your head to your shoulder or your nose to your chest? What is it? What is the functionality you want to get in that yoga practice? Keep that as your core element. How much of that functionality can that person do within their limitations, enable them to do it? So it is the functionality that you are working on, not trying to look like what is in the textbook. Never. I used to earlier use a phrase, nowadays I'm moving away from that, where I used to say perfection in posture is not important. Perfection in effort is important for therapy. But nowadays I'm moving away from perfection. That word perfection is very loaded. So even today, one of my students in his Ph.D. meeting was talking of perfection in something, and one of the experts really grilled him on it. Now, what do you mean by perfection? And poor guy, he got into a lot of trouble by using that term today. It is the effort you make towards functionality. So if the person, you want them to lift the leg, okay, fine. Can they lift it to 90 degrees? Go ahead and lift it to 90 degrees. Can they lift it to 80 degrees? Go ahead and lift it to 80 degrees. Can they lift it to 5 degrees? Lift it to 5 degrees. What is the functionality you want? To lift the leg while breathing, lift, while breathing out, lower. That's the functionality. How much can they do? That is based on the individuality. And this is why when people ask me, what is the technique to be used? I'm like, I don't care about the technique to be used. Because depending on different traditions, there are different techniques that are prescribed. So I'm not going to say this is the only technique that will work in Alzheimer's and that is the only technique that will work in Parkinson's. No, I'm not a fanatic. I'm very clear in that. What is the functionality you want to get in Parkinson? You want to reduce the tremor by finding neurological balance. You want to create that a relaxation so that there will be balance. There is a constant fight between the opposites that is leading to the tremor. Can you relax this fight between the opposites? How do you relax? By breathing into that body part. How do you breathe into that body part? By maybe placing your hands on that body part so that you will think of that body part. And when you think of that body part, you can help focus your breath into that body part so that what is called prana, the life force, will move into that body part. So if it's your head, place your hands on your head. Whether you do it this way or this way, or do it this way or do it this way, that's your business, not mine. But once your hands are here, you can think of your head a bit more easily. If my hands are here and you say think of your head, is going to be more difficult, okay? I'm going to think of my elbow because my hands are on my elbow. Think of your ears, much easier. Think of your ears, much tougher because I'm thinking of my nose now. Where you use the hands to anchor the mind, because mindfulness is the key aspect of yoga. Today, especially in the West, mindfulness has been divorced from yoga. This whole movement, and don't get me going on that, you'll see gangster yogi come out, who's quite a tough nut. You'll see some of my videos, gangster yogi. I made a whole series during COVID, enjoying the gangster role for those things. But coming back, what is important here? is mindfulness, consciousness, awareness of that body part when you are breathing into it. So if the hands can facilitate it, because where the hands go, most probably the eyes will go. Where the eyes go, most probably the mind will go. Where the mind goes, most probably the energy will flow. This is the simplest thing. So if the person cannot do anything, placing your hands on the body part that is affected with the consent, of course, because again, people are very sensitive about touch, personal space. So be mindful of that at all times. Don't just go around, bomb, 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 because Dr. Ananda told me to place my hands on everybody. And be mindful of personal space and consent and other things. But place your hands on the affected body part and tell that person, can we breathe together? Thinking of this body part, think of the part where my hand is. Can we start to breathe together? Let us breathe together. When you and your care seeker breathe together, you are synchronous. That synchronicity of your breath creates a beautiful sense of healing, relaxation, harmony, where the ease will start to manifest as an automatic byproduct. So whether it is multiple sclerosis, whether it is Alzheimer's, whether it is stroke, whether it is Parkinson's, remember the human presence is the best healing factor. Today, we have built huge hospitals, huge nursing homes, hospices. And what do? We send people there. And they feel lonely. Loneliness kills. Remember that. Loneliness kills. As a human being, we need interaction with other living beings. Full stop. We need that connection. And that is being lost in healthcare today. I feel that is where yoga therapists can fill that gap in healthcare. We don't replace the doctors. We don't replace the psychologists. We don't replace the physical therapists. What I tell our doctors and nurses and physical therapists in our university, what is my USP there? Is I say, when you involve us as part of your team, your patient is going to get better sooner. Your patient is going to get better sooner. So if you care about your patient's wellness, it is good for you to have us on your team. We are not going to do your job. We don't take away your jobs. People are always worried about that. We are not going to take away your job, okay? We are going to make your job easier. We are going to make your outcomes better. Your patient care outcomes are going to get better. The surgeon who uses the yoga therapy, music therapy in our hospital, his patients get discharged 2 or 3 days earlier than those who don't use it. The patient gets out of the hospital earlier means less hospital-acquired infections, less burden on the healthcare infrastructure, freer beds for other people who need it, especially in population like India, where every free bed has 3 people waiting for it. Get the person out of the hospital the earliest. Help the scar heal. Let the incision heal without infection by including yoga therapy, music therapy. Reduce the stress in the hospital ward by having us teach people how to breathe, how to relax. We teach the patients how to relax. We teach their caregivers who are with them, the family members and relatives who come, we teach them also. We teach the nurses who are there. We teach the residents who are there. We teach the doctors who want to learn. We say, all of you join in. And they often do that. In our hospital, every medical student, every nursing student, every physical therapy student, every pharmacy student, every cardiac technician, when they are training, they have an elective in yoga for a minimum of 50 hours during the course. Our nursing students get a total of 90 hours spread over 3 years. When they go out as a nurse, they have had 90 hours of yoga experience to take with them. I get asked the question, are you making them yoga therapists instead of nurses? I said, no. They are going to still be an efficient, competent nurse, but they will be a brand ambassador for yoga in healthcare. They become a brand ambassador. We are infiltrating the system. Don't tell anybody. We are infiltrating the system from within in a healthy way. The word infiltration is negative, but think of it as an inoculation. A healthy inoculation into the system. And our management appreciates it because they see the benefit. They see, I tell them, I may not be able to get you as much money as the medical specialties because we can give it free. Our management has given us the capacity to give free service for all our patients. I always say our benevolent management because they are so benevolent in that way because they have seen it. I say I may not be able to get them the money that other specialties get them, but I get them the best currency. You know, the best currency that never gets devalued, and that currency is called goodwill. I say I bring in immense goodwill from the patients, from the families, from the society, from our international collaborators, and that the management understands. And then they dance to our tunes. I think I'm going to stop my sharing here and open up to any questions or comments that are there. Yes, Larry.
Good timing. First of all, every time that you come, I always say this was the best one. But this was incredible. Incredible. I mean, you keep learning more and it's like you keep accomplishing more. And if anybody ever tries to look at all the things you've done, they're just mountains of work. I mean, we're really lucky to have you. I deeply mean that. My question for you is, I have a relative that has some early dementia, not bad, but early. And I was told that there are 3 breathing exercises. The Brahmari, alternate nostril breathing, and what's the third one?
Kapalabhati.
Kapalabhati. Do you agree that with those 3?
I completely agree with Brahmari, the bumblebee breathing that they talk about. You know, I talked about the humming.
Yes.
Humming is
How
always
long?
healthy.
How long and how often?
Well, you know, as a medical doctor, we are always looking at dosage. So I tell people, you know, they're used to twice a day medicine or 3 times or 4 times a day medicine. I say it should at least be twice a day, if possible 3 times a day, depending on the person's life schedule. Never less than 3 to 5 minutes for these type of practices, because doing it 2 or 3 times is good, but the body doesn't get the benefit. It's like, you know, a sprinkler just putting a few drops on your plants is not going to keep the plants alive. You need to sprinkle it, but don't overdo it. Don't flood the garden. So, you know, again, I feel that if they are doing it, I like to keep the numbers like 9 times. So I would say if they're doing that breath, to do it 9 times at whatever length they can do. Gradually increase from 9 to 12, add 3 to 18, and build it up to 27 if they have the endurance. The number 27 is a very, very powerful number. And if you do it twice a day, you're going to then have 54, which is half of what the magical number 108 is. So I'm always trying to build it into these universal numerical calculations that then creates a biorhythm a harmonizing of what we call our human biorhythms with the nature's biorhythms or natural rhythms.
Would you focus just on the Brahmari? Would you also include the alternate
Yes,
nostril breathing?
exactly. So Brahmari is definitely a must for all neurological conditions, especially dementia, because as I said, it is the alarm bell waking up and all the popcorn start to pop. Yes. Alternate nostril is always excellent because you are linking the right and left cerebral hemispheres. But you can do that also by bringing your hands together or this type of thing or crisscrossing. This also does the same thing as a movement. But the alternate nostril is again useful. So if you are doing 9 rounds of the Brahmari, the bee, bumblebee, 9 rounds of alternate nostril could be done if you're doing both. Again, the question comes, which should come first? I think, waking things up and then doing the alternate nostril. So you're woken up those dormant brain areas by the Brahmari and then do the alternate nostril.
How about the Kapalabhati?
Kapalbhati, I'm always a little skeptical as a therapeutic modality. And the reason is Kapalbhati may be a bit too strenuous for some people. So, it would depend on the person's physical health. If they are in generally good health, Kapalbhati would be a good start. So I would do it as Kapalbhati first, Brahmari second, alternate nostril third. And I would do Kapalbhati for maybe 20 or 30 strokes, relax for a minute or two, repeat it once more, relax for a minute or two, and repeat it once more. So 3 repetitions of 20 to 30 strokes at the most, not doing 10 minutes of Kapalbhati. I've heard people doing 10, 15 minutes of Kapalbhati. I'm like, are you mad? So, it's okay when you are young and you want to, yeah, people jump off cliffs when they are young and survive. That's different. Okay. So you can do that, but not as a therapy. Jumping off the cliff is not a good idea as a therapy. Okay. So, I'm just putting it in that contrast.
Perfect.
But if general health is okay, Kapalbhati, 3 cycles of 20 to 30 strokes each time with a rest in between. Rest in between is important so that the nervous system has got activated and has also got a chance to relax. What we call Spanda Nishpanda, activation, deactivation, ensures balance. So that is how I would do it. If the person cannot do any of this, they can always just hum the favorite tune, because humming is the best exercise for the brain. It ensures a much better oxygen supply to your neurons. When you hum, we did a study on the pranava, and we showed that the oxygen saturation goes up. During the whole pandemic, whenever people had oxygen saturation issues, I would always recommend the pranava, Brahmari, and if not, simple humming. And always people reported, without a single person to the contrary, reported an enhancement of oxygen saturation. Your tissues just open up to the oxygen. Your cells open up to the oxygen when you hum. So humming a tune is a great idea for brain health.
Hakka. Thank you very much.
Yes, Mark.
Doctor, thank you so much for an amazing lecture, and I've learned so much, and I'm so grateful for this opportunity to hear from you. I had a question about, you mentioned a book on stress. What is the name of it? How can I get it?
Yeah, it is called A Yogic Approach to Stress, and you can get it on icyer.in. Sorry, spelling is wrong. Sorry, icyer.in. The second one is correct. Can I delete the first one? Let me just see so that I don't confuse all of you. Yeah. icyer.in has all my books and stuff there. And you can order ebooks nowadays. Ebooks are also there. And if you want a hard copy, we do ship it across the seas also.
Beautiful. Thank you. And the other question I had is you mentioned you have a Sangha. How is this possible to join? Is it
All you have to do is follow me on Facebook, Insta. All you have to do is put Bhavanani and put yoga. Because Bhavanani is it is a subclass of Indians who are called Sindhis. My paternal grandfather was Sindhi, so I have 25% genes from there. His mother was Irish, so 25% Irish, and mother was born as an American, so 50% American genes, which every time I come to the American border, they tell me that I should remind them that, so I'll be allowed to enter freely, because in their words, they consider me an American citizen. I said I'm happy with my Indian passport, but anyway, that 50%. But Sindhis, they have the ending name is usually the NI. And so Bhavanani is a Sindhi name. And usually they are in business. Some of them are in education. There's a very famous Indian actor who's a Bhavanani, but none of them are in yoga. So the only one Bhavanani in yoga in the whole world is me. So I tell people, if you want to Google me and find my publications, all my papers are there on academia.com, researchgate.com, and I believe in copy left, not copyright. So I make sure that people get it as much as possible. So every publication, irrespective of the journal, will be available for free download on those websites. Thousands of videos on YouTube also for free. I have not monetized my YouTube also, because I believe caring is sharing.
Wow. Sir, can we, is it possible for us to share just with our students here, this video today?
Caring is sharing.
Oh my God, you know, every year I say that this was the best one, but this was the best one. They're all good, but this one, I mean, you just keep getting better and better and better and better. I love you so much, brother.
Love you so much, Larry. And it's just such a pleasure to meet Barbara. And you share my mother's name. Before she became Meenakshi Devi, her family name, given name was Barbara Tomsha.
Oh.
The moment I heard Larry talk about Barbara, I said, well, that rings a bell. And to meet all of you, and for those who will be watching this later also, love you all so much. You are in great hands with Larry, and he is my big brother in North America, one of my best well-wishers, a very dear mentor, and a role model of what a noble human being can be. So whenever Larry invites me, I can never say no. And this time it's not too late. It's only 10:30 at night in India, so it's not too bad.
Thank you so much, brother, and love to the whole family.
Such a pleasure. Be blessed.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Wow. Okay, we're going to take a 10-minute break, and then we'll do some yoga. Do you want to make it 15 minutes? That was a long one. How many want 10 minutes? How many want 15? Unanimous. Okay, it right now is, can't see the clock.
10:10?
10:10, so